Hook, his girlfriend, said the cake had no nuts in it. An hour later she needed her EpiPen in her own home. A graduate gave her 4 tickets to the 4 people who had earned them, and her dad has barely spoken to her since. And a woman who mentored, championed, and referenced a junior colleague twice found out the thank you was actually an accusation. 3 stories. 3 verdicts. Let's get into it. Welcome back to Confession Loop. These stories come from real everyday situations where doing the right thing somehow still ends with you being the problem. Drop your verdict in the comments after each one and let us know if you have ever been in a situation like these. Story 1, The Allergy, Setup. She and Jake have lived together for 2 years. Tidy, reliable, respectful of each other's space. A good living arrangement by any measure. She has a severe nut allergy. Not a preference. Not an intolerance. A medically documented severe allergy that requires her to carry an EpiPen at all times. Jake knew this before they moved in together. They agreed when they signed the lease that the flat would be completely nut-free. He said he was fine with that. For 2 years it was fine, then Jake's girlfriend started spending significantly more time at the flat. She is a keen baker and began bringing baked goods over regularly. Nice in theory, several of them contained nuts. She spoke to Jake privately and reminded him of their agreement. He said his girlfriend had not known about the allergy and now that she did she would be more careful. 2 weeks later the girlfriend brought a cake. She asked her directly, "Does this contain nuts?" The girlfriend said no. Within an hour she had a reaction serious enough to require her EpiPen. She looked up the recipe the girlfriend had used afterward. It contained almond flour. She told Jake this was serious and could not happen again. He apologized but then said his girlfriend had not done it on purpose and that she was making her feel unwelcome by raising it so formally. She said nearly needing emergency medical treatment in her own home felt fairly formal to her. He thinks she is overreacting. She thinks a nut-free flat means a nut-free flat. She is asking Reddit, is she the asshole for pushing this so hard? Top comments, Reddit was genuinely alarmed. The top comment said, she looked you in the eye and told you the cake had no nuts. You had a reaction that required an EpiPen. This is not a misunderstanding. This is someone who either did not check or did not care enough to check. Neither is acceptable. Many people pointed out that almond flour is not a trace ingredient or a hidden additive. It is a primary ingredient. Not knowing it contained nuts requires either not reading the recipe or not taking the allergy seriously. Someone said, Jake is more concerned about his girlfriend feeling unwelcome than about you nearly having a medical emergency in your own home. That tells you everything about where his priorities are right now. Several people strongly advised her to put the nut-free agreement in writing going forward, a simple message to Jake confirming the agreement so there was a documented record if anything happened again. The most upvoted comment said, "You are not overreacting. You used an EpiPen. In your own home. After being told directly that the food was safe. This is a health and safety issue and you have every right to treat it with the seriousness it deserves. Verdict, not the asshole." Reddit said the flat agreement existed for a reason and nearly ending up in hospital was all the justification needed to push as hard as necessary. Our next story is about a graduation, for tickets. And a father who thought his wife's feelings were more important than his mother's seat. Story 2, the graduation, setup. She graduated from university last month. 4 years of hard work, financial stress, and moments where she genuinely wanted to quit. One of the proudest days of her life. Her parents divorced when she was 15. Her dad remarried 6 years ago. His wife Sandra has always been polite but they have never been close. She has always felt like a guest in that version of her father's life rather than a real part of it. 4 tickets. She gave them to her mom, her dad, her grandmother on her mom's side who had helped fund her first year and called every single week for 4 years to ask how her studies were going, and her younger brother who she is incredibly close to. Sandra was not given a ticket. 3 days before the ceremony her dad called. Sandra was upset. He thought she should give her grandmother's ticket to Sandra since the journey might be tiring for an older woman. She said no. Her grandmother had helped fund her education and had shown up for her consistently for 4 years. She had earned that seat more than anyone. Her dad said Sandra felt excluded from their family and that this was an opportunity to make her feel included. She said her graduation was not an opportunity. It was her day. He came to the ceremony but was cold toward her the entire time. Sandra did not come. Her grandmother cried when she walked across the stage. She does not regret the decision. But her dad has barely spoken to her since and she is wondering if she handled it wrong. She is asking Reddit, was she the asshole? Top comments, Reddit was overwhelmingly on her side. The top comment said, your grandmother helped pay for your education and called you every week for 4 years. Sandra is your dad's wife of 6 years who you have never been close to. These are not equivalent relationships and the tickets did not need to be distributed as if they were. Many people pointed out the specific request that revealed the most. He asked her to give up her grandmother's seat. Not to find a creative solution. Not to see if anyone else could give up their ticket. Specifically her grandmother's. The person who had invested the most, someone said, Sandra, feeling excluded from your family is a conversation for your dad to have with Sandra. It is not something to solve by removing the people who genuinely showed up for you from the most important day of your academic life. Several people noted that her dad's coldness throughout the ceremony, on her graduation day, said more about him than about her decision. The most upvoted comment said, you gave 4 tickets to the 4 people who earned them. That is not something to apologize for. Your grandmother's tears when you crossed that stage are worth more than any cold shoulder. Verdict, not the asshole. Reddit said she made the right call and her dad owed her an apology for the way he behaved on her graduation day, and our last story today is about 9 years of investment. 2 glowing references, and a thank you that turned into an accusation. Story 3, the reference, setup, she has worked in her industry for 9 years. A good reputation, strong relationships, a network built carefully over a long career. 3 years ago she hired Priya as a junior member of staff. Talented and enthusiastic. She invested significant time mentoring her, developing her skills, and helping her grow. When Priya left 18 months ago to pursue a new opportunity, she wrote her a glowing reference. She meant every word of it. 6 months ago Priya called. She was struggling in her new role. Her manager was difficult and she was considering leaving. She asked if she would be a reference again. She said yes without hesitation. The prospective employer called. She gave Priya a strong reference. She highlighted her strengths, her growth, her potential. Priya got the job. 2 weeks after Priya started she received a message from her. Not a thank you. Priya had heard through a mutual contact that she had described her as a work in progress at a networking event 8 months ago. She said she was hurt and was reconsidering whether she could trust her professional judgment. She had said those words in the context of a conversation about how rewarding mentoring was. She had said all junior staff were works in progress and that watching them develop was the best part of leadership. It was a general observation about professional development. Not a criticism of Priya specifically. Not even close. Priya did not give her a chance to explain. She said she felt betrayed, after the mentoring. After 2 glowing references. After years of genuine investment in her career, she is hurt and honestly a little angry. She is asking Reddit, is she the asshole for feeling this way? Top comments, Reddit was firmly on her side. The top comment said, she heard a second-hand account of a general comment made 8 months ago, decided it was about her specifically, and responded by questioning your professional judgment after you had just gotten her a job. The timeline alone tells you everything. Many people pointed out the specific detail that the message came 2 weeks after she started the new job. Not before she needed the reference. Not during the process. After. When the reference had already served its purpose, someone said, you said junior staff are works in progress. That is not an insult. That is the definition of being junior. If Priya heard that as a personal attack, it says more about her insecurity than about your words. Several people noted that the phrase reconsidering whether she could trust your professional judgment after 2 glowing references and years of mentorship was a particularly striking choice of words. Trust runs both ways, the most upvoted comment said, you gave her your time, your name, and your reputation. Twice. She gave you an accusation based on a second-hand account of a general comment. You are allowed to be hurt by that. You are allowed to be angry. And you are allowed to think very carefully before you invest in her again. Verdict, not the asshole. Reddit said her feelings were completely valid and that Priya owed her a real apology and a genuine thank you, in that order. 3 stories. A woman who used an EpiPen in her own home after being told the cake was safe and was accused of making someone feel unwelcome. A graduate who gave her 4 tickets to the 4 people who had earned them and spent her graduation day receiving the cold shoulder from her dad. And a mentor who gave 9 years of investment, 2 glowing references, and years of genuine care, and got an accusation in return. Which one got you the most? Drop your verdict in the comments. Subscribe for new stories every week on Confession Loop. See you in the next one.